So hello everybody, you are all very welcome to this session on what can I do with science at MU. All the panelists are here, so we're very excited to be here with you tonight. My name is Hayley. I am the faculty officer for the Faculty of Science and Engineering here at Maynooth University. I have worked in higher education for the last 10 years, and I absolutely love working with students and helping along their career readiness journey. And I know many of our audience here tonight are leaving certificate students, so if that is you, I'm guessing you're probably considering studying science at university, and you might be wondering things like, why would somebody choose a broad science programme over a specific degree programme? What kind of jobs do science graduates go into? What are the salaries like after graduation? Now, STEM and science careers, it's a very broad but a very exciting area. There's so much to cover, a little bit too much for 1 hour, but hopefully we'll be able to give you some good insight tonight. So here is the plan for this evening. Again, you're all very welcome to this event. I think we have that bit covered. I have some very interesting data on our Bachelor of Science class of 2022. We're then going to meet our 6 fantastic panelists. And they are going to be sharing what inspired them to study science at university, what their experience was like at Maynooth, and what they are doing now. So we look at our class of 2022. As a Faculty of Science and Engineering, we do love numbers and we do love data. So I'd just like to take a couple of minutes to show you the most recent data that we have from the Graduate Outcomes Survey. Now, this is for our MH201 Bachelor of Science class of 2022. Now, the survey, the Graduate Outcomes Survey, it's conducted by the Higher Education Authority 9 months after graduation. So the data that you're seeing in this slide and the next few slides, it's actually the most recent data that's available, and hopefully it will help paint a picture of the success of our science graduates. We'll be looking at where they're working, what further study they're doing, and even what their salaries are looking like as well. So from the responses from the Graduate Outcomes Survey, we can see that 98% of our MH201 science graduates were engaged in full-time work or pursuing further study within 9 months of graduation. So that's a huge success rate for our science students. Looking at the right-hand side of the screen, then this is salary information, which is amazing resource to have. So we can see that the average entry-level salary for science and technical roles in Ireland in 2023 is just above 32,000. And if you look on the right, then we can see from the Graduate Outcomes Survey the average entry-level salary for our MH201 graduates. So I think that's just a really interesting piece of data to have on salaries. And here on this slide, so this is where are those graduates working? So we can see lots of different job roles, lots of different companies that our graduates are working in, loads of different careers. We have analysts, we have quality control chemists, engineers, software developers and teachers working in different industries, pharma, tech, food, education, and then the scale of companies, SME, large multinationals, and so on. Our graduates are working in locations all over Ireland. You can see there from the little map of Ireland, in the likes of Dublin, Cork, Galway and Athlone. And then if you look at where the companies, if you look at where those are based, many actually have locations across the globe. So Intel, as I'm sure many of you know, they're right down the road from us in Leixlip, but they also have locations across Europe, the UK, the US, Australia, South America and Asia. Pfizer, they're in Ireland, the UK, US, Canada, and so on. Toast, a tech company, they're based in Europe, North America, and Asia. So in just looking at that, you can really see like how far our graduates can go, and there might be exciting opportunities for travel for business or perhaps even relocation as well. This slide then, so we're looking at our graduates who have gone on to further study. So we can see that there are people who are pursuing master's programs and PhD programs, really interesting areas like immunology and global health, physics, finance, teaching, environmental sustainability, pharmaceutical analysis. And again, if you look at the locations of where students, graduates are studying, it's Ireland, but it's also the UK and Europe as well. And in terms of the top skills that employers are looking for in new graduates for scientific and technical roles, we can see here there's an early careers survey done from 2023 that shows us the top 5 core skills that employers are looking for in new graduates for scientific and technical roles, and also the top 5 technical skills as well that they want to see in new graduates. And development of these professional skills is embedded in our science and engineering programs at Maynooth. So we're really trying to get students career ready and ready to go out into the working world after graduation. And I know from speaking with colleagues in our departments in the faculty and also in the experiential and careers office that we often do get feedback from employers that they are very impressed by how well-rounded the Maynooth University graduates are in terms of communication skills, teamwork and research. Our students are in labs working together in teams, they're working in group projects, developing analytical, numerical problem-solving skills. And just to mention as well, we also have a careers and employability service on our campus that are available to students, and they can help students with their professional skills, with interview skills, and then when the time comes, also looking at exploring different career options and different pathways as well. So I think that's enough from me. Hopefully that gave you a bit of an insight into where our graduates are now, further study, careers, the type of salaries as well that they're looking at. So we'll meet our 6 panelists for tonight. So all of our panelists have all studied different subjects at university, and they've all gone on to do very, very different careers. But the one thing they all have in common is they're all graduates of MH201, which is our Bachelor of Science Broad Science degree. So Joanne, my colleague, Dr. Joanne Masterson, if you'd like to introduce yourself first, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Perfect. Yeah.
Hopefully my camera is deactivated. So thank you very much for the opportunity to come chat with you guys tonight. I'm Joanne Masterson. I'm a biology alum here in Maynooth. I'm also a lecturer now in the biology department, and I'm a biomedical researcher. So my focus is on allergic diseases and particularly food allergies.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Joanne. And next up, we have Dr. Niamh Cahill.
Hi, everyone. So I am also a lecturer here at Maynooth University. I'm in the Maths and Stats department. I did MH201 about 17 years ago now, which is painful to say. And I'm also a researcher, so I research in areas of climate change and family planning mostly.
Thank you very much, Niamh. Next up, we have Sarah.
Hi, everyone. So hi, my name is Sarah McCartan. I actually was in Niamh's class. MH201 was 17 years ago. So currently now I am Director of Data Analytics at a startup called CitySwift, where we analyse bus and public transport data to try and optimize their performance. It's really interesting because it ties into things like smart cities and also things like carbon emissions. Yeah, that's me.
Wow, brilliant, Sarah. Thank you. And I do know that we do have some young students on the call tonight who are very interested. So this relates to yourself and Niamh, very interested in data and data analysis and data science. Thank you. Paul, you're up next.
Hi, yeah, I'm Paul McCormick here. I graduated in 2002 from Maynooth. Sorry, I'm a teacher now. I teach chemistry, maths and science in St. Aidan's CBS in Whitehall. And yeah, very excited to be here tonight.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Paul. And next we have Wojciech.
Hi all. So my name is Wojciech Barski, and I graduated in 2018 with physics and engineering, and I working here down the road in the Clip for a company called Nikon. We help Intel to manufacture microprocessors in their facilities, and I provide technical guidance, manage teams, and support the coordination of daily activities.
Brilliant. Thank you, Wojciech. And next we have Colin.
Thank you very much, Hayley. So yeah, hi, thanks a lot. I'm a senior software engineer. I didn't always intend to be here where I am today. Originally, I was more kind of maths focused and never thought computer science or writing code would be my thing, but that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years. I work for small startups based in Maynooth and bigger companies like MasterCard.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Colm. So these are our panelists, our 6 fantastic panelists. Again, all from have studied very different subjects, have gone on very different career paths, but the one thing they all have in common is the fact that they studied and graduated from our broad science degree, MH201. So we're going to go into our panel questions. And again, I encourage anyone in the audience, if you do have questions, pop them in the Q&A and we will try to answer those at the end. So my first question, I'm going to pick on my lovely colleagues, Joanne and Niamh. First of all, why would you recommend taking MH201 rather than one of our denominator specific degrees? Maybe Niamh, yeah?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I guess I'll talk about the reason I did it as opposed to a more specific degree. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do when I was coming into university, but I knew I had a general interest in science. And so if you're like that, I think doing a more general degree can be really beneficial because you can find out what your likes and dislikes are. Especially for something like MH201, you can come into the university and you can explore the different subjects before you actually commit to them as well, which is really useful. And then as you go through MH201, you can decide what you want to major in, for want of a better word. So you can maybe find something that you're really interested in, and then you can go down that path, and then you can get more specific if that's something that you want to do. So I think if you're unsure about a very specific career path, which most 17 and 18-year-olds are, let's be realistic, I think doing a more general science degree is really beneficial.
Brilliant. Thank you, Niamh. And I was actually just going to mention that as well. Like, it can be very, very difficult to know exactly what it is that you want to do at any age. So having that choice and that flexibility and that opportunity to explore is very exciting. Joanne, I don't know if you would like to add anything to that.
I think it would just to say, I knew I always was interested in biology, but even within biology, I had such a breadth of subjects that I could study, and I didn't know what kind of biologist I wanted to be, and MH201 gave me that chance. Whereas if I had gone down a denominated entry degree, I might have found it, that I didn't really, or I wasn't passionate about it at the time. So it was good to have those options even within a subject.
Great, brilliant. Thank you very much, Joanne. My next question then is around the subjects of MH201. So there's a variety of subjects that students can take as part of MH201. Some you'll know from school. We have biology, chemistry and maths, but there are some new subjects as well, like computer science, for example, could be a new subject, or data science or engineering science. So my next question is for Wojciech. Did you take any subjects in your first year that maybe you hadn't studied in secondary school?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I took an extra subject of computer science and electronic engineering that I'd never been exposed to before in secondary school. I really enjoyed physics, but when I progressed through the years, I found a really good interest in electronic engineering. Didn't like computer science so much, but when we progressed in engineering, we were able to apply computer coding to physical systems like circuit boards and other systems that we were able to build in the lab, which was very great to see, to basically see your work on the screen where you code, and then basically seeing a physical application of that code. So that was a great thing to experience coming in, and I never experiencing it before. So that was a
brilliant. And did you try some subjects before you decided, or did you think, okay, I want to do physics, for example, and biology, or how did that work for you?
Well, I come into general science. I actually was very interested in physics, but as you said, and Niamh, there's a period where you can experience different modules and courses. Basically, I think theoretical physics was one of them that I went into and sat through a couple of lectures. But my main focus was about computer science and electronic engineering and physics. So, but there were options that you can go and basically explore.
Brilliant. And Colm, I saw you smiling there about the computer science, because I take it, did you take computer science as well in first year, and was that new for you?
I did, yeah, exactly. And I took it kind of off the cuff. It wasn't something that I went into the course, like even intended to take. I just took it as an extra subject to kind of, fill out my subjects for the year, and ended up taking it through to the end.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, can you guys hear me okay?
Okay, sorry. I think my signal just dropped there. Thank you very much,
Sorry.
Colin. No worries at all. And Sarah, I wonder, because you're in the space of data analytics, and I wonder for you, was there new subjects that you took in first year?
Yeah, there was. So I took when I went in, so my focus was physics as well. I took the theoretical physics, experimental physics, maths, and then I audited a few different subjects, but I ended up going with chemistry. Again, it was just a bit of a I hadn't done it in secondary school. I just enjoyed it when I went in. I liked the labs. Yeah, and I did it for first year. I didn't take it through. I specialized down into mathematical physics, but yeah, like I enjoyed it. I think in hindsight, it's like, oh, if I'd done computer science, that would have aligned more to my future career. But that's hindsight as well, and like there was elements of like coding within my theoretical physics modules, especially later on. So, and I think in my experimental physics as well. So it was definitely like an element there as well.
Great. And what was it that you really liked about chemistry in first year?
I think it was new. I hadn't done it before, and like I said, I just enjoyed like the first lecture, and then I liked having like the labs as well. I thought it was kind of like it sort of mixed things up a bit, because like obviously mathematical physics is very theoretical. There aren't labs as such, in it, and the same with maths. So I think it was just to sort of try something new, like that I had that opportunity to do it.
Yeah, brilliant. And did you find that you were making friends in your labs, like, because there was more of a kind of a collaborative environment?
Oh yeah, there was that. Yeah, because I think I remember like I was in a group of 3 in my lab, and yeah, I met people maybe that I wouldn't have met otherwise. So yeah, there was definitely that element as well. And they were very informal. Like there'd be tutors or probably lab technicians, what they're called, walking around and helping you out and all of that. And it was like, you were working with chemicals, and like I'd never done that before really. So for 18-year-old, it was like, I was like, oh, right, this is really interesting. I wasn't very good at it, but I enjoyed it.
That's like very important as well, just to enjoy it. Thank
Yeah.
you, Sarah. And Paul, I wonder, I know now you're a secondary school teacher in maths and chemistry, but for you, was there any new subjects in first year that you tried?
I did all the practical subjects. So I did experimental physics and chemistry and biology, and just anything to do with a lab I was interested in doing. I had a vague idea that I was going to be a teacher or wanted to be a teacher, but what type of teacher? I wasn't even sure, primary or secondary, when I started. And the idea was just to get a general degree and then give myself a bit of time to figure out what I was going to do. I wasn't very strong at maths when I was at school, and experimental physics gave me a better grounding, a better understanding of maths. So I could see where the maths was working in the real world, and it was I didn't take experimental physics on. I took biology and chemistry and maths on into second year, but it stays with me still. And yeah,
That's amazing. So you weren't so keen on maths going in, but actually now you are a maths and chemistry teacher.
That's it, yeah.
Brilliant. One of my questions later is a kind of a lead on to that, but I would like to ask, we do have different supports at Maynooth University, like we have a maths support centre. Paul, I wonder, did you use any of those when you were at Maynooth? Was it available while you were there?
Yeah, so we did a test. I think the maths department identified us pretty early on that we might be struggling in maths. So we did a test very early on at the start of the year. I didn't do fantastically. I didn't do horrendously either, but they identified me as somebody that might need extra help, and I was given an hour a week for first year that I would attend, and it was a smaller class and a tutor, and I don't know, 10 or 11 of us sat down and went through some some key skills in maths that we needed to develop, which was very good. So yeah, maths is the only subject I got first in Maynooth. So
oh, brilliant. Well done. I know now it's a few years ago, but still, that's a fantastic achievement. Well done. And what about any of our other panelists? Have any of you used any of the additional supports at Maynooth? Or maybe can speak to them?
I had actually attended the Math Support Centre in my time as well. I don't know if it's still there. I hope it's still in use or active yet. Great, because
it is.
Back when I was in college 7-8 years ago, it was run by other members of the faculty. So I'm sure Niamh can tell me if that's still the case.
Yeah, so I have a perspective on the Math Support Centre because I work in the maths department. So the Math Support Centre is very much up and running. We have tutors there most days of the week, as far as I know, and students find it really, really useful. I think one of the benefits of the Math Support Centre is that students are coming in talking to sometimes other students, which can make it a lot easier and less intimidating. Sometimes students, I think, find it a bit intimidating going to the lecturers with if they're struggling with some of the mathematics, and then going and talking to another student, I think they find really useful. So yeah, the Math Support Centre is a fantastic resource.
Yeah, man, when I was there, you didn't have to, you know, be identified necessarily. You could just drop in. It was like a place where you can go and you can call in and say, oh, you know, and sit down at a table with someone who's going through some problems and get some help. It was even a great way of meeting new people, I found. And,
yeah, that's exactly it. It's still drop-in. It's drop-in at the moment. So you can just go in with, if you have tutorial questions or whatever it is and you're struggling with them, you can't go in with your assignment questions. That's the only caveat, but you can go in with your tutorial questions.
You get similar questions. But there's really no stigma at all going. I mean, usually the place was packed whenever I was there.
I think besides the maths then as well, you know, there's a writing centre. So I think that's amazing. That wasn't here necessarily when I was studying, but students again can drop in and get tips and tricks or some feedback on their composition, no matter what the subject is. And now there is a scientific writing curriculum as well built in there. So I think the fact that we're assessed through so many different essays, but we don't necessarily study scientific writing. I think as scientists, we're not always necessarily composers. So it's great to have the writing centre, I think, there as well. And then student services have, you know, a check-in. So they do everything from managing your timetable to, you know, balancing your study, and more kind of important supports, financial and otherwise, as well on campus. So and they're all just, you know, walk by, drop in kind of situations. And then within our department as well, I'm our MAP advisor, academic advisor. So the Mature Student Access Programme is a really great programme and really individually helps so many different either mature students or access routes. So through the DARE and the HERE, put a lot of supports in then as well, non-academic, but otherwise supports. But we give extra tuition and things like that as well. So it's good from that perspective too.
Thank you both. A lot of support at Maynooth for students, in whether it's writing or maths or additional supports. Thank you very much, Joanne. My next question then, I'd like to know, so a few of you have already kind of touched on how you didn't really know what it is you wanted to do. So Paul, I'll come back to you first, because you did say you wanted to get your degree and then figure out what to do after that. So I suppose at what point did you decide on your subjects in the programme which you wanted to specialise in?
I think it was second year. And yeah, second year was the big decisions, when you had to, I suppose, you got into, in my day it was a 3-year or a 4-year degree that you could do, and you had to be selected for the 4-year part of the degree, so you had to get above a certain mark. And I was kind of hoping for biology and chemistry. I got chemistry and not biology, because I didn't study fantastically hard for that one. And yeah, so I ended up just doing chem and specialised in that in my 4th year.
Great. Happy with your decision?
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy with how it all panned out? Great.
Yeah.
And Sarah, what about you? Did you always know that you wanted to become a data analyst, or how did that happen for you?
Yes, no, I didn't know I wanted to be a data analyst. I suppose back in, I think it was 2010 that I graduated. It wasn't really a career, like it probably did exist as a career, but definitely wasn't. I didn't really know about it. at all. I knew I really liked mathematical physics, and I kind of thought that that's what I would specialize in, and it is what I ended up specializing in. That's what I graduated with. But actually, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and after college, I actually decided to do something different for a while. So I actually went and worked in completely different area of like fashion buying, but I was using like my maths and things like that to do like analyze sales and forecast buy volumes, things like that. So while I wasn't necessarily using the scientific elements of my degree, I was using like the things I had learned in terms of, how to be kind of a critical thinker, how to apply maths to like a different situation, because maths physics is just applying maths to like physics concepts. So you were doing it in a different situation. And then I wanted to go deeper into the analytics. So then I ended up, that's how kind of I ended up realizing I wanted to do that as a career. And I ended up, because I was out of college, God, I'd say about 5 or 6 years at that stage, I went back and did a master's focusing on computational physics, again, keeping that kind of element that I knew, just to really kind of deepen my coding skills. Because as I said, I didn't do the computer science and things like that in my initial degree. And that's how kind of I ended up. And then in that career, because by 2015, 2016, data science had become a huge focus. And actually what I found is that a lot of the people that I work with have backgrounds in science, because I mean, that it, like and when you're doing science, it's kind of data analysis, but with an application, and even like Neve will say that as well, like statistics is, a lot of data science is statistics as well. So it's just sort of being kind of labeled as something else. Does that make sense?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sarah. And Wojciech, what about you? Did you always know what you wanted to do, or when did that become clear?
Yeah, I think same with Paul. It was the second year, because in first year it was, you're being excited doing all these new subjects and doing the labs and meeting new people, making friends, experiencing the life in Maynooth. But then, as Paul said, in second year, that's where the big decisions come in, and then that's when you realize what subjects you like more and which ones you like less. And that's kind of when I started to think about experimental physics and electronic engineering, also on the fact that there's a lot of commonality, let's say, in the electronics and electrical part of that of those subjects. So yeah, that was the kind of path I took in that direction. And then at the time I heard this combination of subjects in general science wasn't very common, so I took up on a challenge to maybe try and see if that's going to be possible, and it ended up being quite difficult but possible at the end. So yeah, that's when I realized second year was the big decision.
Thank you. And Colin, what about you? Are you team second year as well, or was it a little bit later when you figured out what it is you'd like to do and what subjects to specialize in as part of your degree?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. Originally I had a plan, and my plan was to end up like Neve here. I wanted to, get a doctorate in mathematics. That was my big thing. And I was maths mad when I was in school. I, got the A1 and honors maths and all that stuff, and then failed my first maths assignment in first year when I came in, and then that kind of, shook my boat a little bit. So my original plan, and I filled out the CEO pretty wrong because I had the points increasing further down like as I went. But I put general science that I wouldn't be forced into one choice straight away. And thankfully that was the right choice for me, because I went in, I got to experience maths. I found that it wasn't really for me, but there's so many other areas in science where that maths can be applied. And I got it from mathematical physics and from the computer science. And even in third year, I wasn't sure. So I kept on both physics and computer science. And those are pretty employable combinations. So for me, it worked out okay.
Great, that's super. Thank you. And I'll come back to you, Paul, because I think you referenced, I think it was Paul, or was it Sarah? Was there any lecturers or tutors who kind of helped signpost you towards any potential career areas, or did you use any other services on campus to help you kind of figure out what it is you might like to do?
I think most of my lectures were quite helpful in trying to get me through the course, or getting me through the course. But as for specific guidance into becoming a teacher, I don't think so. No. not for me anyway.
Sarah or Niamh or Joanne, an open question for anyone?
I definitely did. To cover a couple of the questions, I come in wanting to be a teacher, and although I'm an educator now, I didn't plan on doing research and going on in that sense. I planned on doing a double honours in biology and maths. I loved it, and I only made that final decision in my 4th year, so I was even later again, Colin, not 3rd but 4th, and was a month into 4th year before I decided, what, I just love biology, and although I like maths a lot, I just see my future in biology. So people as well, it was people that I met, and particularly I had done a summer opportunity, again by happenstance, with one of the lecturers in biology, and he really made me aware of the opportunities that I didn't know existed before then. And again, even being, the summer opportunity with him was by chance, by chatting with somebody one day. So there was lots of people, technicians within the chemistry department as well helped me there. So yeah, but I think the one thing I would say about coming to Maynooth or going to university in general, just be open to chatting with people and listening. You just don't know what you're going to learn or what opportunities you're going to come across.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Joanne. My next question then, I will go to Sarah. So you had your first career, I suppose, after you graduated was in fashion buying. Am I right in saying that? So you did talk a little bit about, different, like how your different subjects helped you then in that career. But can you talk a little bit about how your overall time at Maynooth helped you get your first position after you graduated?
Yeah, I suppose how it helped was that I had like a very good foundation, like having mathematical physics, having maths, they're very, in some ways, very broad skills. And, I actually had to do I did a diploma and then I did work experience. And so I don't come from the traditional background that people would have gone in for that, but because I had such a strong like mathematical side, that kind of helped me to stand out, if that makes sense. So because like I said, it's like there's a huge amount of that of like analytics in there, that was only really starting to kind of emerge and be kind of used, and they were separating out. They were kind of like trying to build out analytics as well with the fashion buying. So I would say that that's kind of how it helped me. And like I had gone through Maynooth, and I kind of I knew at that stage, like I didn't want to work in a lab. It's that the chemistry wasn't for me. I had sort of narrowed down things that maybe I didn't want to do, but I still hadn't really realized what I wanted to do. And I'd always had an interest in being in a kind of creative industry. So that was kind of how I ended up going forward for that. But I think that's like why Maynooth was really good, was because I was able to do a lot of different things to make me realize that, okay, I haven't figured out what I want to do yet. And, so yeah, like, but I had something that helped me get to the next stage.
That's great. And I think sometimes knowing what it is we don't want to do can also be like incredibly valuable, because at least you can park that and then go explore something else. Niamh, what about you? How did your time help you get your first position after you graduated?
So yeah, I did a master's after I graduated, so I kind of was in Maynooth exploring the different science subjects that I was doing, and then I narrowed it down and I did a double honours, so I decided to do chemistry and statistics. And then I made a decision to go on and do a master's, and so obviously having done my 4 years in Maynooth helped me with the master's. And then I found out in Maynooth that I really liked statistics, and I didn't think I would like, I always had an interest in maths. I really had an interest in chemistry. Statistics actually found really boring at the beginning. I have a friend who often quotes me, not Sarah, but a different friend who is in science with us in Maynooth, by saying that I don't know why anybody would do statistics for a living, and now this is what I do. But I really started to enjoy it in 3rd and 4th year, and then I decided I hadn't learned enough. Actually, I really wanted to dig deeper. So then I went on to do the masters, and then from the masters, I decided I wanted to go even further again, so did a PhD, and then now here I am teaching statistics, back actually working with the lecturers that I had when I was a student here, which is a very strange experience.
I can imagine going from being the student then to being the lecturer.
Yeah.
And I hope you figured out why people do statistics for a living.
Yes, I try to make it a little bit more exciting maybe than what I found initially, but I don't know how good of a job I do. But if you come to MH201, you will find out.
Brilliant. And Wojciech, what did you learn from your time at Maynooth that you're bringing to your current role that you're in with Nikon?
Yes, it's a very good question. I think the very first thing that I will find very useful is the teamwork. With experimental physics and electronic engineering, there's a lot of labs. You work in teams. You have to discuss ideas and the data that you have, building systems, or you're analyzing something. Teamwork was a big factor, or especially with friends. Late evenings in the library, writing on whiteboards equations that we're trying to solve, and everybody's giving a little bit in. And this is very useful in my current role, where we have, let's say, errors on machines, problems. We are doing investigations. We are in touch with different parts of the world, with Japan or the States, and we try to investigate what the issue is, because we work with very complex machines. And working in teams in Maynooth and exploring different ideas, disagreeing, agreeing, and just have the respect to others was very useful. But also from the kind of different subjects that I took, especially let's say in physics, we did a lot of optics and lasers, and these are the systems we use in our machines. There's a lot of complex systems that having an understanding of these systems help us to kind of maybe investigate and have an understanding why a certain part of the machine is not working. And similarly in engineering, electronic engineering, we have all those electronic circuit boards, different components, that is very helpful to diagnose any errors that we have on the machines.
Brilliant. So you're touching there on some of the core skills that we looked at earlier in the slides, and some of the technical skills as well.
Yes.
Like being able to apply practical skills that you're learning in your program then to an actual real world scenario, and having the experience and the practice with that. That's excellent. Thank you very much, Wojciech. And Colm, what have you learned from your time at Maynooth that you're bringing to your current role?
Yeah, so for me, I was in a great position to get a college-sponsored internship. So between my 3rd year and my final year, there's this program called SPUR, where lecturers can essentially employ students for a few weeks over the summer to help build their skills, or whatever the case was. So I got working with one of the lecturers in the computer science faculty, and he had kind of a personal project on the side, and he was able to pay myself and another student for a couple of weeks to bring that kind of along, bring it to a production deployment phase. And that gave me the experience that I could use on my CV then, because the one thing about doing computer science through MH201 is there's no placement. So if you're going out into industry, you can kind of feel a bit disadvantaged compared to someone who's doing just a computer science degree, because there is a placement there. Now, I think that you can switch over after 1st year, or it's possible to do that because of the overlap in subjects. But for me, what really gave me the chance at industry and getting that good job when I got out of college was this internship that I got that was sponsored by the college.
Brilliant. Thank you, Colm. Yeah, and just to mention, there are transfer pathways from the broad science degree into specialised degrees after 1st year. So that's something that you can see in the prospectus and on the website. But it is possible for MH201 students to transfer into, for example, computer science and software engineering, biological, biomedical sciences, and so on. But yeah, absolutely, make the most of opportunities that the Careers and Employability Service have for students, like those SPUR projects. They run every year, and they're a great opportunity to get those practical professional skills for your CVs as well. Thank you. We're kind of coming to time, so I wonder, Joanne, do you know what any of your peers from your class at Maynooth University are doing now? What kind of jobs are they in careers?
I think that's what I love about studying the degree we studied, is that I have friends who finished up with chemistry or computer science or maths. So they've all gone in so many different directions. You know, Paul was chemistry while I was sitting over in biology all at the same time. So we've managed, I have such a broad network of friendships, and therefore they've gone in so many different directions that I wouldn't begin or end. Teachers, guards, industry. You know, we've the chaser. The chaser was in my years. So Dara is an MH201 graduate. You know,
Yes.
we've gone everywhere, we do everything. And I think the point is that you have that broad foundation that you're all talking about, that it gives you options, and people kind of go in different directions, which is great. So my LinkedIn is very dynamic.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joanne. That's very exciting. And Wojciech, what about you? Do you know what any of your peers are doing from your MH201 program?
Yes, actually, I have 3 of my colleagues here working with me on different positions. So it's great to see a familiar face working together on issues, investigations. This is really fantastic because it kind of makes it more of a friendly environment. But I also know that some of my peers went on and work in Central Bank of Ireland as well after finishing, let's say, a degree in experimental physics. So this is that's how much I know about my peers at the moment. But yeah, great opportunities out there.
Thank you. And Paul, what about you? Do you know what any of your peers? I know there's 1 or 2 even on the call here.
Yeah.
Cheating if you mentioned them.
So there's a few doctors in there, analytical chemists. A friend James, he did his PhD in chemistry and then decided that it wasn't enough, so he went on and did a medical degree as well. So he's been in university since, I don't know, since we were in our teens. But he's, yeah, like there's finances, there is it's and there's a few teachers. Well, I think I'm one of 2 teachers that are there. So, and yeah, obviously the analytical chemistry, and yeah, it's broad and very dynamic.
Brilliant, thank you. And I know we have just about 10 minutes or so left. So a question for everyone, and I'll start with you, Sarah, because you're first on my list, I can see. Do you have any advice for your pre-university self when it comes to deciding what to study at university or thinking about future career paths?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think the advice I'd have is to not put too much pressure on yourself to have it all figured out at the start, and to enjoy taking, enjoy learning new things for kind of the sake of learning new things, and kind of trust that as you move, as you move through, things will, like a path will emerge or things will fall into place. And even if they haven't, like for me, there are so many options afterwards. Like I went into fashion buying with a science degree, and then I went back to science, and now I'm in analytics. So, there's a huge amount of opportunities out there. Like you mentioned, being able to switch, that was actually something I think I was aware of as well. And I think I knew people who did that, like that. There's always options, and that the decision you're making at 17, 18, it's not forever, it's just that first step kind of. So it seems like a really, really big decision, and it is in a way, but like, I think when you're unsure, it's go for the broader and the general. I think I was a little bit concerned, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. And I think, I probably could have enjoyed it a bit more in the journey.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks
for sharing that. Colm, you're next on my list. So same question again. Any advice for your pre-university self now that you are where you are?
Yeah, I just tell myself what Sarah would tell herself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. You're not going to get it right the first time. But if you go into something kind of a more broad gauge, then you have a chance of having skills that can be transferable, or being able to pick up something else that's new. Like there's a lot of mature students and people come back to do their masters in science, so they might have started off in an arts path instead, and it can take longer to come around to what you want to do. but sometimes it's necessary to find out what you like and where you want to be, you know.
Thank you, Colm. Joanne, you're next on my list. What about you? Any advice?
Yeah, in the same light, you know, trust your instincts. You're mostly right, and be open, be honest. Just because you're not sure doesn't mean you're unfocused. You're just creating opportunities for yourself. And I see, you know, university, it's chapter, it's a very early chapter, but it's one chapter. It's the beginning of the story. Not the end. And I think there's a great analogy of kind of the line or trajectory of a career being very linear, or at least people think it is, but it's not. It, you know, it should be the most squiggly, squirrely thing that you can come across, but it's all moving in the same direction. So just be open.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joanne. Wojciech, what about you? Any advice if you could go back and give yourself?
Yeah, I think I would agree with everybody else here, not to put too much pressure on yourself. I was commuting for 4 years to Maynooth, and it wasn't easy to have a path. And I agree just to be open to opportunities and just trust your instincts. And when I even graduated and joined this company here, they don't expect you to know everything. They will teach you. They will show you. Once you just have the basics covered, you will progress. So be open to opportunities, enjoy, and have some fun as well. Make friends, and just and enjoy that chapter in your life.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Niamh, what about you?
Yeah, I'll echo what everyone else says. I would say don't expect to have it all figured out coming into first year. And I would also say try and take opportunities to go and talk to your lecturers. I think a lot of students might feel intimidated doing that, but sometimes students come into first year, they find themselves working in a very independent way compared to what they did in secondary school, and they get overwhelmed. And if you find yourself with a week where maybe you haven't been able to do assignments or something is not going according to plan, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and assume that your whole semester is ruined. Go and speak to your lecturers and say, look, I've fallen behind here. Is there anything I can do to catch up? Can you help me out? Can we go through what we missed in the lectures? And take those opportunities. Most lecturers that I know are more than happy to sit down and go through things like this with students. And we have office hours and things like that. And I don't think I would have utilized that so much when I was a student because I didn't realize, but now I'm on the other side of it and I realize how much we are willing to be able to help students. We want to bring everybody through. We don't want anybody to fall behind.
Thank you very much, Niamh. And Paul, what about you? Any advice?
So I'm not sure there's anything else I can add to that, except for maybe just turn up to your lectures, as many as you can. You will not make them all, but do your very best to turn up and just keep on trying, and you will crack it eventually. I see some of the comments in the Q&A about people are worried about the math section. I would have been terrified and about if somebody said to me when I was in 5th year or 6th year that you're going to do maths at university. It wasn't that bad, and it actually makes a lot more sense when you don't have 6 other subjects that you're trying to study. You only have, I don't know, 3, and yeah, it's very accessible. So don't stress, you'll be fine.
Brilliant. Thank you, Paul. I will address some of your comments just a little bit towards the end, but we do have some questions in the Q&A box. So we'll get through a few of those now. First question I can see is MH201 a good course if you are interested in biology but don't know what to specialise in? So Joanne, I wonder, can you answer this?
Absolutely. You know, it's why I chose it. I knew I wanted biology, but I didn't know what discipline. I didn't know what biochemistry was. I certainly didn't know if I wanted to be a biochemist, but I knew I wanted to be a biologist. So I think it's a great degree to kind of figure it out, and you get to specialize in the end. That's why I loved my 4th year so much, because you do have lots of options by the time you get to your 3rd and your 4th year, and you get to pick then towards your niche. So it's not all just general the whole way through. General to start with, and then you get to select kind of your preferences as you get up the years.
Brilliant, thank you. Next question, just looking through, are you able to transfer from a specialised degree into MH201 after 1st year? The answer to that is yes, you can transfer into MH201. How long do you have to pick your subjects in first year? You have, well, to pick your 4 subjects in first year, you have the first 4 weeks of the semester. So that's a fairly decent chunk of time to go to a few different lectures. Do you like the lecturers? Do you like the content? And then make your decision. So you're not having to decide straight away. You do have that window of about 4 weeks. Next question, let me see. If you do a single major in, for example, chemistry, do you do more work in chemistry than a person who does a double major of chemistry?
If you do a single honours with a single subject, you would take more modules in that subject compared to if you did a double honours with 2 subjects. So for example, when I studied at Maynooth, I did chemistry and statistics, double honours into my final year. And so I would have done some of the chemistry modules and some of the statistics modules. But if someone was doing the single honours, they would have taken more chemistry modules if they were doing the single honours chemistry, or if they were doing the single honours statistics, they would have taken more statistics modules. So you are losing some of the modules by having the diversity in the degree.
Brilliant. That's great, Niamh. Thanks a million. I'm just looking here through the Q&A and I can see that some of the questions are being answered as well. So thank you to our panelists for also multitasking. Another really top skill to have, being able to answer these questions as well as we move through tonight's session. We are almost out of time, but if you had a question that wasn't answered, you can contact our admissions office. We have a fantastic undergraduate admissions office here at Maynooth University, and they can answer all your questions about entry requirements for programmes, what would a timetable look like, can I study this subject and this subject together, so please do get in touch with them. But I suppose to sum up, like a broad science degree like MH201, I think a lot of the panelists have touched on the fact that it does give you choice and it gives you flexibility. Don't put yourself under too much pressure. It's a stepping stone into, your CAO is a stepping stone. It's not a final choice. There's so many different avenues that you can go. You can really narrow down the things that you're interested in. Like in school at the moment, you're studying 6, 7, 8 subjects for your leaving cert, whereas at university you're really focusing on the ones that you are really, really passionate about. In saying that, we've met lots of our graduates from the MH201 programme tonight, but if anyone on the call would like to speak with a current Maynooth University student, we do have a feature on our website called MU Ask a Student, where you can actually log on and you can ask questions to our current students on a science programme, ask them things like any advice for university, how was the transition from school to university, what are your subjects like, and they'll give you real honest answers. So I hope you've gotten a bit of a picture on the variety and all the things that you can do with a broad science degree. I'd like to thank our 6 panelists for their time, sharing honest and insightful experiences with us. Thank you to all of the attendees for being here. It was great to see so many people online tonight. Hopefully you found it insightful. Hopefully it's given you some kind of inspiration of careers or programs that you might like to study. You are our next generation of scientists and engineers. I know the Leaving Cert is coming up, but you're about to come into a really exciting time in your life, whether you go to college, university, go on and do an apprenticeship, whatever it is, it's all exciting. Your future is right there ahead of you. So to Leaving Cert subjects on the call, best of luck with your exams in June, and we hope to see you at Maynooth University soon or in the future.